violation of international law. What on earth is she talking about?
I don't know what she's talking about. I don't think that the majority of Americans know what she's talking about, nor do I think anyone's listening to her either. So she fires off press releases and tweets all day, but no one's paying that any attention. I think if you go out and you talk to everyday Americans, and they will say, what on earth is Greta Thunberg and all of these folks doing? And why are we advocating for these folks? Why are we not protecting the state of Israel? And coming down very forcefully as the Trump administration has. So I think there's a clear plan here, and these folks will continue to be noise.
Yeah, you hear the word comrade, you see the keffiyeh there, the Palestinian resistance scarf they're all wearing. It's all tied together. All right, let's talk about ABC News. They've suspended correspondent Terry Moran for that unhinged tweet about President Trump and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. Moran called the president a world-class hater. He also said this about Miller, quote, his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate. I guess Terry Moran was having a bad day, and now he's suspended.
Well, he should be suspended. Look, this is just another something else for the legacy media to try to recover from. They have lost all credibility with the American people because of tweets like this, where a reporter who's supposed to be sort of agnostic, supposed to present both sides of the debate here, is obviously just going after the president and a senior advisor, Stephen Miller. Where are all his tweets talking about the Biden administration and the disaster that was the 4 years that administration presided over the country? Of course, you will have none, right? So he's showing his cards here. He should be suspended. He should probably be fired at the end of the day. I don't know that they'll actually do that, but I think this is one more incident where everyday Americans out there, if you're not in California or in New York, but everywhere else in the country, are shaking their heads saying, we knew it. We knew they hated President Trump. And they're saying, it's almost like they're saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, Chad, we got about 30 seconds left. Just want to get your take on the LA riots right now and the use of the National Guard. Do you think President Trump is going to have to call out the Marines as well?
Well, I don't know. We'll see if the Guard can help get things under control. Look, I think this is very simple. Either you're for law and order and you're for law enforcement, or you're not. And I think Governor Newsom, Mayor Bass, and others, Kamala Harris put out a statement, did not mention law enforcement at all. And so I think it shows their cards, and they would rather play to the leftist policies, and they would rather embrace individuals that are flying foreign flags and burning the American flag, burning vehicles, than they come down on the side of law and order. I think this is a repeat of 2020, and I think it's going to end up the same way.
Yeah, they have to coddle the pro-violence wing of the Democratic Party because they're all looking at their political futures. We know what's going on here, Chad. Great to see you. Thanks for being with us today. Take care.
Thank you.
Recently, we sat down with Secretary Doug Collins, the head of Veterans Affairs under President Trump. More of my exclusive interview next.
If you've been in an accident that wasn't your fault, your favorite attorney has a message for you. Collision, calamity, catastrophe. If you want money, you need an attorney. You need a bulldog. That's why you need to call the number on your screen now. You'll be connected to a legal expert. You got questions, they got answers. These bulldogs will make sure people pay. And if you don't get money, I don't get money. Pick up that phone and make that call now to see what your case could be worth.
800-511-8575. Attention cancer victims who use the weed killer Roundup. A federal jury unanimously found that Monsanto's popular weed killer Roundup was a substantial factor in causing cancer. You may be entitled to substantial compensation if you or someone you love used Roundup weed killer and were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Call the number on your screen now. The World Health Organization has designated glyphosate, the main ingredient in Roundup weed killer, a probable human carcinogen. Thousands of agriculture workers and home gardeners may have been exposed to serious health risks by using this product. You may be owed significant compensation from the manufacturer. Call today for a free consultation. If you don't win, you pay nothing. If you or someone you love used Roundup and were diagnosed with cancer, call the number on your screen now. Don't wait. There may be time deadlines to file a claim. Call Guardian Legal Network now.
At 1-800-380-2890. That's 1-800-380-2890. What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted, because when your Generac detects a power outage, it automatically powers up, giving your family the security and peace of mind they deserve.
We don't have to worry about whether we lose power or not. If the utility company does not come through, our Generac does.
After the hurricane happened, we just want to be prepared for anything.
8 out of 10 home generators are Generac, with thousands of satisfied customers.
The number one thing to prepare for is extended power outages. Don't make it so hard on yourself. Have a Generac home standby generator.
And owning a generator is easier than ever. Special financing and low monthly payment options are available. And if you call now, you will also receive a free 5-year warranty valued at over $500. Call or go online now to request your free quote.
I was exhausted all the time, and I just didn't feel like myself. And then came the weight gain. I found out I was like millions of Americans whose thyroid gland wasn't functioning like it was supposed to. And that's why I started taking Actilin, a premium nutritional supplement. Actilin was created by renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein, formulated with 17 powerful ingredients to specifically support your thyroid function, adrenal health, and metabolism. And now, you can get a free bottle of Actilin with our special offer. Just pay a small shipping and handling charge. Plus, receive Dr. Brownstein's free special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Thyroid. If you're experiencing loss of energy, cold hands and feet, dry skin, weight gain, or joint pain, Actilin may be right for you. Don't wait. Act now. Get your free trial bottle of Actilin, valued at $39.95.
Hi folks, we're back. If you've been injured in an accident that's not your fault and you don't have an attorney, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions and tell you what your case is potentially worth. Pick up the phone, call now.
It's a fact. 80% of your immune system is controlled by gut bacteria, and many people suffer from digestion woes. Dr. David Brownstein created Bactipro to help. This premium formula supports optimal immune health and contains 6 powerful probiotics. So try Bactipro to see if it helps you with our risk-free offer. Get 30 days of Bactipro at no cost to you. Go online now or call us toll-free today.
Were you keeping up with the Trump and Elon back and forth yesterday?
Unfortunately, with 470,000 employees at the VA, I was pretty busy yesterday. But look, I think the president's doing a great job. I think Elon's done some good stuff. They're going to get it worked out. They all have differences, but look, the president has led. The president's going to continue to lead, I think, and I look forward to him continuing to do that.
And I think one of the things that you've obviously been clear about is Elon has set the tone for DOGE and these cuts, but you don't need Elon. And talk to me about what you're working on to eliminate the bureaucracy here at the VA.
You're perfect. And I think one of the things that's talked about, John, and we've actually talked about this a little bit. I'm in a unique situation to be, I believe, here. I think life preparation gets you to where you need to go, and for me, being in the military for now almost 25 years, being in Iraq, being a legislator both at the state level and in Congress for 8 years, which I think is really important here, and seeing how this works is really prepared us to say, look, you come into it because I had 8 years of almost 60% of my phone calls to my office being some kind of VA problem. And I've just taken on the attitude here that when you have to call a congressman for something that's happening at the VA, then we failed. Now, I'm not taking that personal. I'm just saying we got to do better.
The layers of bureaucracy. I heard there's like 12 layers of bureaucracy sometimes that you guys you're trying to cut through.
I think sometimes if you looked up, the old funny story, if you looked up the definition of bureaucracy, you'd find just a picture of the VA. And I don't think that, I think that just comes over time. I think it's done because one wanted to make sure we're taking care of this and taking care of this. And then it just builds up, and all of a sudden, instead of one step, you've got 6 steps or 8 steps. And it's something that I'm working very hard to begin to cut through. And in fact, if there's the old adage that I've heard for years, the original red tape did come from veterans bringing their cases, and they were tied in red ribbon. That's how that whole thing came. But what we're seeing is things, and we're already putting an end to. We're taking best medical interest so that our doctors can refer to the community when they need to, just on that best medical interest. So it means that the veterans getting their help quicker. We've got some stuff coming out that's going to make it quicker for our folks who are amputees to get their prosthetics quicker instead of having to go through 3 or 4 layers of hoops. I'm just determined this. I've got so many issues that we need to streamline that I'm not casting dispersion on why it happened. I'm just saying it's time to fix it. And this was also the first time, too, as you think about it, that and this one also surprised me, and I sort of historians looked at it, that the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of VA actually sat down, and we've had 2 meetings at our level to discuss these issues and sign this memorandum of understanding. But I've always viewed the Defense Department and the VA Department, we're fraternal twins.
Mm-hmm.
We do the same things just with different people at different careers in their life, but we both affect each other. So this understanding of transition, DOD technically owns it, transitioning people out. But if anything goes wrong, I get blamed for it. So I told Pete early on, I said, look, Pete, we got to talk about this. I said, I'm wanting to help and be a part of it. So we just got to figure out a smoother transition, because from the moment a family has a person come into the military to the time, if they choose so, that we lay them in to rest in one of our cemeteries, it's a continuum of care. If DOD fails in their health mission, or they fail in not helping people transition out or enter program and get the help they need, then they may not come to the VA. We may not have an opportunity to do what they've earned if they want it. But the same is true for us. If we're not doing what we need to do, then think about the mom or dad who is saying, well, I served for 20 years and I'm not getting health care. I'm not telling little Johnny or Susie to go into the military.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a recruitment issue and readiness issue. Wait times are coming down in independent areas. But disability backlog has really come down 25%.
That's the disability
one
backlog.
Is it? But let me sort of explain the two. The healthcare side, and this is something I think for your listeners and viewers to watch. We are a healthcare system, and for all of the every story that we tell that somebody missed an appointment at the VA or something got wrong, those are identical stories to your private and public hospitals across this country every single day, including mine. Mm-hmm. I can remember my own doctors. Well, he's going to be out of town this week, so we're going to have to put off your appointment. Here's the difference. If that happens with the VA and somebody doesn't like what it is, I have 535 members of my board of directors. At least they believe they are. And in Congress.
Yeah.
And I understand that. That's they're the appropriators, they get it. So if anything goes, they're micromanaged differently. So I just want one to consider us a healthcare system with all the issues that doctor recruitment, everything that they have, but we're doing a special community and we take it very seriously. But then we also have a benefit side. This is something that where most people are understanding of the VA, even if they don't have the health side. So when they apply, our backlog had gotten up to almost 260,000 cases over 125 days.
Do you ever get frustrated? First question. Second question, when you look down the road a month from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, what do you see as the ultimate benchmark of success?
I think yes to your first question. Is it frustrating at times? Yes. You look at it and in the first 100-something days you get oh, Mr. Secretary, we're going to help you do anything you want to do. Yeah. And then you make them say, well, and then as you get closer when they realize that you're serious, then it's all of a sudden, well, let's talk. There's a cost to this, or there's something else. And that's back to our earlier question you had. What was surprising to me is how much is not said up front, giving me just enough information. But then when I dig in a little bit deeper, and it's sort of like judging, is this secretary really pushing this or not? And so then all of a sudden you get more information that you have to then plow through. Where I see us going is I want a workforce that is motivated to come to work. There's a lot of things we're doing right now. We're reshaping the force. We hired hundreds over 100,000 people in the last few years, hundreds of $1 billion to the budget, but we didn't get the right results. So yeah, we're looking at our middle layers. We're looking at those duplicative layers, stuff that don't actually work on veterans in the hospitals or in their benefits, and say, do we need those areas, or could we put that money elsewhere? That's caused some, I know it's caused some anxiety, and it would in any organization. That's why we don't talk about it publicly about who we're targeting. As Congress wants me to do, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play out these decisions. We're going to do it in a rational kind of way. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to settle in. The veteran is going to see their health care normalized in the sense of wait times are where they should be. We're better in a lot of areas, and even the private and public hospital. They're going to want to come. People are going to come back to the VA and say, this is the type of things that we've earned, and we're going to use those. And a workforce is motivated to come to do work and do one thing, that's take care of veterans. So if we do those, we see our backlogs down, we see that there's a commitment to care for our veterans. Homelessness, though, and suicide are two of my biggest issues that are on my heart every day. 40,000 plus still in the situation of homelessness where they don't have adequate shelter. And we're still, depending on your numbers, since 2008, we've been at 17 to 22 veterans every day. Not that's sometimes I hear people say, well, 17, that's a month. No, it's a day.
Yeah.
And 40% of those are not touched by the VA.
Wow.
So we've got to do a better job there. So those are the kind of metrics that I'll look at the end of the day. But I think at the end of the day, whenever, it sees fit to me to get to leave here, I want him just to be able to say, number one, he cared, and he made a difference.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon on John Bachman Now, weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Have a great rest of your weekend, and stay safe.
Leftist riots in the past have been sparked by false accusations of government racism. This time, the leftists are rioting in defense of illegal aliens who have shot up birthday parties, who have harmed children, and who have been pushing illicit drugs into the veins of America. Lawless leftists attacked police, civilians, and ICE agents. They torched cars and looted businesses, all as the Democrat Party voiced their unwavering support. California State Assemblyman David Tangipa joins me to speak out about all the destruction, chaos, and lawlessness by Democrats and their illegal alien thugs. Plus, L.A. Mayor Karen Bass, who along with the biased press originally called these riots peaceful protests, enacts a curfew in downtown L.A. after her city was brought to ruin again. Newsmax political analyst Mark Halpern and host of The Briefing, Ed Henry, are going to join me with a reaction. And all of this as leftist states like Maine and California fight to keep men in women's sports, endangering women's lives and their opportunities. But one state is doing the right thing, passing the Stand With Women Act, which requires children to participate on teams that correspond to their biological sex. Oklahoma State Superintendent and father to young girls Ryan Walters joins me to talk about the latest battle in the Democrats' war on women. Without fear or favor, the Chris Salcedo Show weekend starts right now. A little concerning here. Tensions continue to rise in the Middle East. The #1 state sponsor of terror is reported to be dangerously close to fulfilling Barack Obama's and the Democrat
crisis.
That's the show, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving us the election in 28, Democrats. Like, what do I need to say? The liberal, lamestream media, the echo chamber of them and the Democrats coming together over the last 5 days, okay, and trying to spin the obvious truth when you and I can pick our phone up or watch a network like this where we tell you the damn truth and you can see the video, you can listen to the interviews with your own eyes and ears and realize what's going on. There is violence. They do have weapons. They're beating up on cops in the city of Los Angeles. But ask a Democrat, ask a CNN pundit, you heard it. I don't make it up. That ain't AI. That's not AI, folks. That's what they believe. It's mostly peaceful. This wasn't warranted. Trump did it all. Is it any wonder people turn off you idiots in the mainstream media? There's a reason your ratings are in the tank. There's a reason you Democrats lost everything. You might as well listen to the Nazi minister of propaganda. Remember Joseph Goebbels, known for his infamous statement, if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The Nazis did it, and the Democrats are doing it. Since they want to call Trump and MAGA folks Nazis, let's point the finger where it really belongs, okay? The left-wing activists masquerading as journalists, reading their teleprompters, is literally like 1984. They have this ministry of misinformation. They're lying to you, and I know you know it's not the truth. 5 days of this, folks. Now the Marines are on the scene, trying to quell this upheaval by, yes, anti-American thugs that are upset over what? That ICE came to town to round up illegal criminal aliens. Yes, that means if it's a 21-year-old murderer or if it's a family of 4 who snuck in the middle of the night 3 years ago illegally, you're going home, period. This isn't home. You did it illegally. And yes, we're a nation of immigrants, but we're a nation of laws. Who said that? Oh yeah, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And I can keep going on and on. President Trump ordered the deployment of 700 U.S. Marines who arrived last night in L.A., assisted by several thousand National Guard troops already on the ground. These so-called peaceful protesters, as the radical Democrats would have you believe, include, convicted sex offenders, drug dealers, and gangbangers, just to name a few. 45 people busted Friday by ICE. That's when this all started. Officers swept through a couple Home Depots and some other illegal alien neighborhood hangouts. Several of those arrested have already been convicted of some of the serious crimes I already talked about. Pedophilia on minors. You want them hanging out in your streets in LA? Rapists. You want them there? Yet those who support these obvious criminals continue to rage the streets, burning the American flag and waving other flags, like from Mexico, or I saw some Palestinian flags. What in the Sam Hill does that have to do with illegal immigration? It's very interesting. These people waving the flag of a foreign country are so angry about the prospect of being sent back. But wait, I thought you're proud to be from that country. If you're so proud, what in the hell are you doing here destroying an American city? Oh, that's right. Most of the people that are there are either probably some of the illegals or they don't care about the illegals. They're just using this whole thing as an excuse to do what? Cause chaos and rob and pillage. That's right. This peaceful protest has turned into one big looting riot, too. I mean, show them the video. What does stealing jewelry and CVS products have to do with if you're upset that Trump's kicking out somebody from Mexico or Honduras or Syria? What does that have to do with it? And how are you making a positive impact on society when you're lighting off fireworks, throwing rocks at cops, and stealing some tampons from CVS? Seriously. This is a free-for-all. And this is now social justice? Folks, I mean, I cannot take it anymore. And I bet our first guest tonight can't take it either. She's probably dealing with trauma after what happened to her. She's a former San Bernardino, California sheriff's deputy who was almost killed on the job by a criminal thug. Megan McCarthy joining us now to react to what she's seeing happen about an hour up the street from where she lives in LA, because she's out in San Bernardino County. Megan, thanks for coming back on. I got to imagine you're sitting there watching this 5 days of hell, because that's what it is. It's civil unrest, disobedience, looting, beating on cops, and you got to be scratching your head going, how could the leaders of Los Angeles, the leaders of California, the police chief, the top sheriff, the mayor, Bass, how could they let this happen? Megan, your thoughts?
Well, thank you for having me tonight. I really appreciate being here. You know, I would have thought that the 2020 defund the police movement would have been kind of an indicator to the world that we need our cops now more than ever. We have seen what will happen to our cities and our counties and our states without the men and women holding that thin blue line between chaos and safety. And clearly, our elected officials did not learn. I don't understand how you can sit back and watch our men and women have Molotov cocktails thrown at them, cement blocks, having their police cars shattered and broken while they sit inside and not do anything for them. These are our husbands. These are our dads. These are my children's father who are being persecuted by this political social justice experiment because all of a sudden California believes that you can decriminalize criminal activity and our law enforcement are to blame. This is nothing other than a piggybacking on the defund the police movement, just a different agenda.
Well, and I gotta wonder, I mean, Miss Bass, the mayor, sees this happening, right? And then comes out on camera and literally last night, or maybe it was Sunday, says, LA was peaceful and fine till Trump came to town with ICE. Now, Megan, San Bernardino County butts up to LA County. You were a cop for years. Your husband's still a cop for years. You still have contact, I'm sure, with lots of cops that work for the LA Sheriff's Department, maybe even LAPD. Was LA all peaceful and sweet before ICE came to town the last couple of years?
Well, I can tell you LA has not been peaceful for about 20 years now. This is nothing new. This is something that our cops have had to deal with, and now the world is seeing it firsthand. You know, I don't understand how I talked to somebody this morning who is a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department member of their special response team, the SRT team, and they had a gun pointed at them. In no other world, in no other call for service, in no other day would somebody be allowed to point a gun at a cop and be able to go home, be able to have the cop stand down, and they are being ordered to do so. I talked to members of LAPD and LASO who are being told to stand down, and if they interfere and have self-defense, because that is a God-given right of self-defense, even if you're a cop, I know it's hard to believe, they are being told they will suffer consequences.
Wait a minute. Who's telling them that? This is the mayor's office or their head sheriff, their head chief? They're getting direct orders from the top brass. They have to stand down against these rioters.
I've been trying to figure out where these orders are coming from, but I can confirm from both the sheriff's department and the police department, they are having direct orders to stand down or they will suffer consequences. This is not a civilization that people are supposed to feel safe in, especially our law enforcement. It is anarchy.
But Megan, you heard all those clips from the mainstream media I played right before I brought you on. They said there were no weapons. You have Democrat lawmakers saying there are no weapons. They're peaceful, mostly peaceful. I mean, there are dozens of California Highway Patrol vehicles completely obliterated by cinder blocks thrown from overpasses. There are ICE vans where the windows were blasted out from rocks and fireworks and whatever they can find to throw at cops. And you just said some of them had guns, but they're like this clown, but they have no weapons, Megan, no weapons.
Well, that's how little our elected officials and our appointed officials believe in the American people and their constituents who vote for them in these positions. I didn't, but there is a population that did out there, and they want you to believe that the truth is not real, that your eyes deceive you, that everything you hear and read and see is all a false narrative, that somehow we are all mistaken, that you can throw rocks through the windshield of moving vehicles and not call that an attempted murder on a police officer. Back when I was working, and back as I'm still pretty sure the penal code allows it, that if you throw a assault with a deadly weapon, if you throw a rock, a boulder, a hammer, a scooter, a Molotov cocktail, that is assault with a deadly weapon. That is a felony, and you should go to prison.
I'm just looking at that image right there. Leave that up, guys. Don't bring me back on. Yeah, leave that one up. Look at the mass. Look at the numbers, Megan. I mean, where do you get those kind of numbers? Don't these people have jobs? Like, if this is some of the illegals, didn't you come here for a job? How are thousands of people just out on the damn streets of Los Angeles doing this for 5 days straight?
You know, what I think we should start doing is when you want to come to our country, or if you already live here, you should have to read your amendments in the Constitution. And you should understand that your First Amendment right to peaceful protest does not include burning American flags. It does not include blocking freeways so people can't get home to their families or to the hospital or to the grocery store. That is not what this is. There's a difference between criminal activity and your amendments that are protected under the men and women that died for this flag. The flag that you are burning, our American citizens died for those freedoms. And if you cannot understand the difference, you shouldn't be here.
Amen. Former San Bernardino, California Sheriff's deputy, injured on the job by a criminal. I forget, was he illegal too, by the way? Or just a scumbag?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Just a piece of scum. I remember that. I don't know if we had that video, but just so folks, if you know Megan's background as we say goodbye to her real quick, she was on the job and here it is. And you got screwed over by hierarchy and politicians and BS as well because, you know, they want to support the bad guy. Megan, thank you for coming on. Always appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Yep. Okay, so I alluded to it there a little bit with Megan. Here's a big question. Who's helping to fund the massive riot in LA the last 5 days? Okay? There's no way it's organic. They just popped up. No, somebody's paying the bill. We'll dive into that next.
I know what it's like to have back pain. When I found Inversion, it changed my life forever, and I believe it can change yours. I'm proud to introduce the most effective, the most comfortable teeter inversion table ever, the Teeter Fit Spine. When you invert, your back and spine elongate. With the pressure off, your back muscles relax, the spine realigns, discs rejuvenate, and nerve roots are relieved of painful pinching.
Been online working for 34 years now, and my back was pretty bad. Now I got on the teeter, and I felt it like just alleviating, just stretching. Now I can go out, I can go play basketball, go walking with the kids. I'm a new person. My back feels the best it's ever felt.
FDA registered as a Class 1 medical device, teeter inversion tables are indicated for temporary relief of back pain, muscle tension, degenerative disc disease, spinal degenerative joint disease, spinal stenosis, herniated disc, spinal curvature due to tight muscles, sciatica, muscle spasm, and facet syndrome.
Biggest difference the teeter table has made in my life is that I have physical freedom. It helped me so much you have no idea. I'm not worried that I'm going to be limited by my back pain.
The teeter is easy to use. Simply set it, lock in, recline, and relax. Some other brands rely on gimmicks like padded beds. Your body sinks into the foam, stopping the decompressive stretch needed to achieve pain-relieving results. The FitSpine features Flex technology, a patented bed that enhances decompression for a better stretch and better results.
Over 3 million people have put their trust in Teeter to feel better, move better, and live better. I'm in my 80s, and I feel great.
We're making it easier than ever to try the teeter in your own home with 0 down and 0% interest only at tryteeter.com. Experience the life-changing benefits for yourself. If you don't love it, just send it back with our 60-day return guarantee. Go to tryteeter.com to start your journey to back pain relief today.
Welcome to Car Breakdowns 101. I'm your Professor Ice-T. If your car is out of warranty, a car breakdown could eat you alive. Look at that car. The transmission alone could cost you $3,000. And that engine? How much do you love your kidneys? Don't even get me started on the computer system. That's a small fortune. Do what I did and call CarShield. They get expensive car repairs taken care of so you don't have to. Class dismissed.
Call 800-969-3093.
Welcome back. So we have now entered the 5th consecutive day of violent, let me repeat that for you liberals in the cheap seat, violent, illegal protests, because you're only allowed to peaceful assembly, so they're illegal protests, and they're filled with illegals. Against what? ICE enforcing our immigration laws in Los Angeles. That's why they're out burning down streets and looting businesses. Thousands and thousands in LA. They even moved over to the city of Santa Ana. Rioters there, given the option to disperse or face arrest because this is an unlawful assembly. No, they decided to get violent. Some got arrested, not enough in my book. But you know what the main question remains? And I brought this up with Megan earlier. Who's paying for this chaos? Somebody's got to be footing the bill. There's no way thousands of these people can just show up all day, 5 days straight. FBI Director Kash Patel says the Bureau is investigating the money trail behind the organizations who are funding these riots. Not just in LA, we've seen smaller ones in other cities, and they say they're going to break out more now in the Bay Area, San Diego, Chicago, New York. The Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, a group very closely connected to Democrat leadership and allegedly supported by billionaires, have been fueling the unrest, I'm told. And then there's this. Videos emerged of anti-ICE protesters brazenly handing out tactical gear, to masked agitators in LA. Roll it, Chris. This unidentified person, there, look at him. See him all in black there, handing it out? Caught on camera, passing out riot shields, gas masks, all kinds of stuff. And they have weapons too, by the way. Sticks, rocks, moving vehicles, those are weapons, folks. Scores of rioters can be seen running towards the truck, grabbing all the equipment. Psh, disgusting. And then the protest. They rage on Instagram and social media, encouraging anti-ICE rioters to help them. Bring more gear. Show up with your gear. Craigslist ads. You ready for this one? Look at this Craigslist ad. We are seeking, their words not mine, tough badasses for the riots. We pay up to $12,500 a week. What? Sign me up, but I'm not going to hurt anybody. I might go out there and beat on a few violent protesters and help the cops. Florida Congresswoman Anna Polina Luna says that she's done some digging herself, and she's found all kinds of sources of illegal cash flowing into these riots.
This specifically is being funded by an individual by the name of Neville Singham, who actually made his money by pushing communist Chinese propaganda, became a billionaire doing it. He's now funding, and the guy behind all of these protests was also behind and tied to the protests at Columbia University, pushing all of that BS, if you don't remember. And then also, too, if you actually look at the social organization that's putting out these flyers, it's the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which is, and I kid you not, the actual Communist Party. So they're using Hispanics, they're using illegal immigrants, they're trying to hype people up thinking that they care, but they don't care. If they did, they would stop illegal immigration.
All righty, joining us to talk about the money trail. A guy who, I don't know, maybe he's a glutton for punishment, because this is the third time on my show. I remind him each time that I don't like the job that he does, but nonetheless, CEO and founder of a company called Crowds on Demand. Adam Swart, back on the program. Adam, nice to see you again. What do you make of what Miss Anna Polina just said? A guy named Neville, some other NGOs, and some Democrats, some communist folks, they're all paying for this. You're in the business of paying for folks to show up to crowds. Let me first and foremost ask you, before you who you think is involved, are you yourself involved? Has anyone contacted you to hire you to provide people for the LA riots?
Well, of course we've been contacted. I mean, first of all, Dan, great to be back with you. I just like hanging out with you. That's why I keep coming.
I highly doubt that, but okay, Adam.
But the fact is that we are not involved, though. Of course, as with any kind of things, I mean, we're the top, Crowds on Demand is the top protest company in the nation. So, of course, we get contacted in regards to practically every social movement out there, but that doesn't mean we take on these types.
Why aren't you involved in this one, though, Adam? Because it got violent?
It involves illegal activity, and we do not engage in any form of illegal activity. Of course, no violence, no vandalism, and no blocking streets without a permit. So I want to completely disassociate myself and Crowds on Demand with what you see going on. I mean, I want to say what you're seeing here seems more like guerrilla warfare than protest. I mean, you have
think? I mean, look at the damn video. And then, Adam, and I know you're a heck of a lot more liberal than I am, because I don't even use that word. That's a dirty word in my household. So you got to, I hope, you've got to not only condemn this, but you've got to get out in front of this and say, who are the bad actors paying for this violence? Because this isn't a peaceful protest. These people have weapons. They're there doing damage. They're hurting cops. They're destroying communities. They're looting businesses. I saw them running through jewelry stores and CVS's. What the hell does that have to do with illegal immigration, Adam?
Well, it has nothing to do with that. And these are agitators. Many of them don't even care about immigration or the people, the undocumented or illegal immigrants that they say that they care about. They're looking for an excuse to hurt people and to loot. These are psychopaths who are looking for an excuse to create violence and chaos, and they're using this just like they've used BLM and other movements as an opportunity to create the chaos that they would create for any reason whatsoever. So I can't condemn it enough. Now, as concerns who's behind it, I can't verify what the Congresswoman mentioned about that.
Yeah, she's bringing up this guy. I don't know if we have the info for him. I'm looking up his name right now. His name is Neville Singham. He is a pro-Palestinian organizer, and it appears that his little communist party, what is this? PSL, Party for Socialism and Liberation, is behind some of it. And then obviously you've got paid agitators that are out there that are waving I mean, they're acting like this is a fight of Hamas versus Jews over in the Middle East, when I thought it was people pissed off that ICE was actually grabbing illegals and shipping them back to their home country. So this thing has just ballooned up into I don't even know what, but it's ridiculous. I'm glad you came on to condemn it. But Adam, I still have to say, because you're in the business of hiring people to peacefully protest, in your words, you still are going against that organic American right that we all have to peaceful assembly and air that grievance with our government. And I understand what you said before. Hey, people can't come out. They're working. No kidding. That means whatever happens in the streets should happen organically. When you pay people and they don't even know what in the Sam heck they're showing up for, how does that really appear to the American people that the issue is that big of a deal? If they call Adam Swart and say, Adam, Crowds on Demand, I need 500 people in downtown LA next week, we're protesting this. Well, if 500 people didn't want to show up and you had to pay them, then that doesn't make the issue that big a deal now, does it?
Well, Dan, let's look to the founding of our country. So in Britain, where we fought a war to separate from the King of Britain, members of Parliament were not paid. So guess who became members of Parliament? It was feudal lords who owned a ton of land and were very rich. Part of the principle when we founded this great country was our elected officials are going to be paid. And why? Because we want that to be open to more than just the rich. So as a conservative, as a proud conservative, Dan, you can see, don't you believe that the opportunity to protest should be open to people who maybe don't have the flexibility, who have kids, who have a job, who have other things to do?
No.
Now, what you're doing...
No. Adam, I'm never, ever, you could try and twist it all the way back to the Founding Fathers. I'm never, ever, ever going to agree with you. I'm running out of time. I appreciate you coming on and at least condemning the violence and calling out that there are evildoers behind the scenes paying for this riot, because that's what it is. It's not a protest. It's a freaking riot. And you're claiming your company doesn't do it. I hope you don't. But I'm going to end it here and land my plane, as they say on X. I don't like what you do. You know I don't know how you sleep at night, because you're making an issue bigger than it is to the American people, and then that changes hearts and minds when they see thousands in the street protesting a certain issue because you've paid them to show up. I don't agree with it. Adam, thank you,
Dan,
though.
I said I slept 9 hours last time.
I bet you did, on a big, nice, comfy mattress and pillow that you make your 6-7 figures with, by confusing and lying to people, by showing them there's a big, huge protest over here when there's not, because you paid them. Adam Swart, CEO, Crowds on Demand. At least thank you for condemning the bad doers in LA. Appreciate you coming on. Hopefully I don't have to see you again anytime soon.
Well, you'll see me soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure, because there'll be another paid protest that turns into a riot.
You like me. You like me.
Adam, thank you. Goodbye. See you later. Straight ahead. By the way, team, I think that was his last appearance. Straight ahead, we're going to head to the swamp, get reaction from Florida Congressman Mike Herodopoulos on the riots in L.A. and also the battle over the big, beautiful bill. Stay with us. You're watching Real America here on OAN. We're back in 2. And Adam Swart, you will not be on again.
Enjoy, guys. Oh my gosh, have you tried the chips and salsa here? No way. My stomach can't handle that stuff anymore. The bloating, the indigestion.
You know, I used to think the same thing.
Have you tried probiotics? Yeah, but those never work.
I thought so too, until I tried Peptiva.
Peptiva is...
Israel says that this is a policy to pressure Hamas in the negotiations, in the ceasefire negotiations. Is this a policy that this administration supports?
Well, Johnny, guess who helped to stop them, he writes. A U.S. president who stood by the regime in 2009 while a real revolution unfolded in the streets. And an administration that transferred $150 billion to the regime between 2015 and 2016. Another that later sent over $10 billion more. If we truly want to support the Iranian people, we need to stop aiding the Khomeinists. Only then can the Iranian people have a real chance to free themselves. Well,
hallelujah.
Hallelujah, says Annie. And it sounds like President Trump is going to continue this list and trend if he keeps talking about bringing the
super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas.
Happens in our schools. Traffickers will send people to recruit from the school.
As for myself, I started full-blown prostituting and being addicted to drugs as the age of 14.
Well, the statistic is that it's 95% American girls.
On the next episode of Destination Celebrations, I head to Costa Rica. to embark on a wild journey through the jungle, to experience ancient ruins, remote tribes, exotic celebrations, and everything else this gorgeous country has to offer on this all-out cultural adventure.
June 13th, no king but Jesus.us. We're going to be praying, taking communion, fasting, worshiping, and declaring that there is no king but Jesus around the United States of America. I want everybody to join us. We have already dozens of churches that are coming on board. So I look forward to that. And when we come back from the break, an interview with an expert on the jihadis, Robert Spencer.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes loud.
Johnson says the legislation delivers much-needed reinforcement to ICE, including the funding to hire 10,000 new agents and also to expand detention facilities, as well as additional cash for deportations. The House Speaker also taking aim at the detestable governor of California, good old hair gel Mr. Newsom, for his gross mishandling of the violence in the city of Angels. And oh, by the way, before you run the soundbite, let's not forget, when you throw the governor under the proverbial bus, let's throw Miss Bass, the mayor of LA, under that big bus as well. Go ahead.
I'm not going to give you legal analysis on whether Gavin Newsom should be arrested, but he ought to be tarred and feathered, I'll say that. I mean, look, he's standing in the way of the administration and the carrying out of federal law, right? He is applauding the bad guys and standing in the way of the good guys. He is trying to, he's a participant, an accomplice in our federal law enforcement agents being not just disrespected, but assaulted. This is a serious problem, and the governor is now filing a lawsuit against the president. What a joke. Do your job, man. That's what I tell Gavin Newsom. Do your job. Stop working on your rebranding and be a governor. Stand up for the rule of law. He's not doing that.
And so is the mayor. Speaker Johnson also remains committed to passing the comprehensive GOP spending bill by the 4th of July, despite pushback from some other GOP members. There remains skepticism over certain aspects of the bill, of course, particularly the rollback of clean energy tax credits. There's also the commotion sparked by the former head of DOGE, Elon Musk, who labeled the legislation as a disgusting abomination. Senate Democrats are expected also to pitch a fit over Trump's 2017 tax cuts, a proposed 10-year ban on state-level AI regulations, and language that limits the power of federal courts to enforce contempt of court citations. Across the pond in London, U.S. and Chinese officials are taking part in a second day of trade negotiations aimed at addressing tensions over export restrictions and trying to revive a temporary truce established in Geneva last month. The U.S. wants commitments from China to ease export restrictions on rare earth minerals used in technology and defense. President Trump says the talks are going very well, but did stop short of lifting recent export tariffs. So we'll see what happens. A lot of stuff going on. Joining us now for more on all of this, Florida Congressman Mike Herodopoulos. For the first time, I understand, we have a new face on Real America. I always love new members coming on the show. Mike, nice to meet you. How are you, sir?
We're doing well, Dan. Thanks for the opportunity to be on this afternoon.
All right, lots to talk about here. Let's start with the riots, shall we? Because that's on top of mind, of course. We'll get to the big, beautiful bill and the war over the trade negotiation and tariffs. Pretty interesting what we're seeing take place in a state that obviously for decades has prided itself on being home to immigrants, legal immigrants. And I find it interesting to see the Karen Basses, the Gavin Newsoms, the rest of these liberal Democrats in the not-so-golden state, Mike, standing up for the bad guys, not the rule of law, not following what Barack Obama, what Hillary Clinton, what Bill Clinton, I could roll the sound bites, you know which ones, they've all said it. We're a nation of immigrants, but we're a nation of laws, and you got to follow them.
Amen, Dan. This is the frustration you're dealing with California. I consider him the trust fund kid that's blowing the trust fund. All the benefits that California has been given with weather and other opportunities, and they're blowing it. And when you put a blowhard like Gavin Newsom as governor, you're going to have problems. He doesn't understand basic policy. He doesn't understand the basic rule of law. He doesn't understand that the job of the government is to protect life, liberty, and property. And so the good guys are having their homes, their businesses destroyed, much like the '92 riots, and let alone what happened recently in the state of Wisconsin. We need to have some common sense here, and we need to do it quickly, because what's happening is that the people who are playing by the rules are being undercut, and they're also being taxed literally out of existence. It's the reason why states like mine in Florida are growing, because people are running away from failed policies, whether it be New York, California, or let alone Illinois. Those are the big tax states. They're coming to places where they play by the rules and don't tax them out of existence.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know if you saw living down there in the much freer state of Florida, but the good old Democrats in Sacramento are so stupid that during a time of financial crisis, homelessness crisis, drug crisis, all the problems we're dealing with in California, July 1st, we're going to have a gas tax increase, 65 cents on every gallon. So as prices are slowly going down, as Trump and you guys are trying to wrangle things in with the trade negotiations, the tariffs, and gas prices are easing at the pump in 30, 40 states, not going to happen here in California. Before I get off the riots and we go on to the bill and the trade wars, I do want to point something out. You probably heard this. Gavin claims, as he sent a lawsuit to the federal government against the Trump administration for sending in the troops. Oh, by the way, I'd like to point out the president only sent in about 700 or 800 Marines. Back when the riots happened in '92, they sent in like 1,500 troops. So it's half the number. But anyway, Gavin Newsom claimed that the president or no one in his administration called California and warned them they were going to send in the troops. Did you hear that, Mike? That he said nobody called them, right?
That's what he said. Of course, the facts will bear something dramatically different out.
Yeah, and you know what I'm talking about because you already saw it. Put the tweets up. So here's what's funny, folks. Show this to your liberal Aunt Karen and your Uncle Dick, okay? When they say, Trump's so mean, he's a bully. He didn't even call Gavin and tell him he was sending the troops. The president called John Roberts of Fox News this morning on his way down to, I think it was Fort Bragg.
Correct.
Yep. And here is the call log screenshot from the president's phone Friday night into Saturday morning. He called him. He didn't pick up at 1:22. 4 seconds later, he called back at 1:23, and they spoke 16 minutes. And he told him, quote, get your ass in gear and stop the riots. He didn't do it, so he sent the troops. I'll give you the final word on that, and we'll move on to the bill.
Well, look, when he opens his mouth, you know something's happening, and it's not much or a lie. I mean, this is the first thing to Gavin Newsom. He's been given so many opportunities in life, but he just can't help himself. He thinks he can either talk his way out of something or the liberal press will back him. Once again, the president has not only outmaneuvered him, but outsmarted him by simply bringing the receipts.
Yep.
He has brought the receipts, and he has laid out where Gavin Newsom has failed. And again, it's the tragedy of California. So much opportunity, and they have wasted that opportunity, whether, as you pointed out, with gas taxes or other things. And it is the reason why people can't wait to get the hell out of California and why they're coming to a red state like mine, because we play by the rules, and you play by the rules, good things happen.
Yeah, true. I almost pulled the trigger last year and moved down there, Mike, totally honest. And then
we're always open for business.
I know. OAN is based, believe it or not, in San Diego, California. This conservative, patriotic, American-loving network is based in California. So I doubled down a few months ago, bought a few acres, and said, I'm staking my claim and I'm fighting these radical a-holes. Anyway, Mike, let's move on.
That's the best investment you can. That's called an annuity payment you just made. That's a good thing.
Thanks. All right, let's move on to the big, beautiful bill. A lot of pushback. I have been vocal about my disgust with a few things in it, and I'm sure you didn't like everything in it as well. But we've got to get it going. We got to keep the government moving, and we got to give Trump the cash to keep the agenda moving. And I understand that we'll tighten the purse strings in year 2, 3, and 4 of the Trump administration. But you're getting a lot of pushback, even from members in the House on the GOP side. And now the Senate talking about splitting things up, maybe 2 different bills. What's happening as of today, Tuesday? Where do we stand with the bill?
Well, first of all, I applaud the comments of our speaker earlier today, and it shows the kind of leader he is. He's clear. He listens to people. He's taken on the agenda in general. And he's a miracle worker in a lot of ways because we have a very tight majority. We have a very diverse majority. The New Yorkers and the Californians, of course, want certain provisions, and they don't want other provisions. But hey, in order to get the thing done, I believe in what politics is, which is the art of the possible, where we move the ball forward and we actually keep our campaign promises. Remember, the president said we're going to lower taxes on the people hardest hit in the last 4 years. Those are people who make tips, who work overtime, who are on Social Security. Those people are hard hit when you saw 20 and 30% increases in basic things like food, rent, and gasoline. So he has kind of looked out for them. And I want to make one other thing clear because the Democrats demagogue this to the extreme. The current tax rate on the wealthiest Americans is 37%. If we pass this bill, it stays at 37%. So all this hogwash that somehow we're giving a big tax cut to the rich is bull, and we are keeping it at 37%.
Good. All right, less than a minute left. Got to hit you on trade and tariffs. Those London talks seem to be going good. Of course, we've heard 75 to 90 different countries have lined up to do new trade deals. But the main one we're concerned with, besides Canada and Mexico, and they're coming around, is obviously China. That's who we do all the business with. They need us. We need them. Hopefully Trump gets us off that China, you know what, so we stop milking it and we make our own stuff once again. But in the meantime, Mike, do you think we're going to get a deal done with China and get these tariffs and trades back to normal in the near future, or is it going to take, what are you hearing?
It might take a little while, but here's the truth. The Chinese are not ethical brokers. They have slave labor. They steal our R&D left and right. We know what happened during COVID, and they're liars. There's no other way to put it. They're doing all kinds of things in space. We need to look at those other trading partners and be aggressive and have true fair trade. Whether they tax us, we will tax them. That's fair trade. That doesn't exist right now. And until China learns that lesson, they're always going to manipulate no matter what they sign on the dotted line. You know they're going to manipulate it because you can't trust them. And until they want to become true trade partners, I continue to support the president in taking a hard line against our country. Let's look for new partners and make them come to us in this new trade war, because right now they do not play by the rules. That's why I simply don't trust them.
Yeah, I agree. You got it. If we don't fix this with China now, it will never happen because too many people in D.C. have sold their souls to the China devil. So Mike Herodopoulos, he represents the 8th Congressional District down in Florida. First time on Real America. Open invitation, Mike. Loved it. Come on back, man, whenever you like.
Thanks for what you do every day, Dan. Great job, buddy. See you soon.
Appreciate it. Up next, HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy Jr. making a big announcement. What he's thinking about doing with the U.S.'s vaccine board members. Oh, can't wait to hear this one. Details when we come back.
Are you looking for a trustworthy publishing company to publish your book?
Covenant Books is an author-friendly publisher who shares your passion and beliefs. Call us today and we'll send you a free author packet to help get you started. We provide a full range of publishing services.
Covenant sells your book and ebook online and in bookstores everywhere. Our authors love us. Just look.
Be like these authors and get your book published today.
To get your free writer's guide, call now.
1-800-927-1241.
HomeAglow just cleaned my entire house for $19. Seriously, $19. They showed up right on time, did my dishes, my laundry, they even cleaned my windows. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19. I love using HomeAglow, and I think you will too.
I can feel the winds of change.
If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 800-217-8145. That's 800-217-8145. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
Can you believe this? Doug Flutie and Frank Thomas. You guys look great. Once I turn 40.
Let me guess, less energy, less drive,
Definitely. It's not your fault. It happens to every man. Testosterone levels drop as you age. It happened to you guys? Yeah. So what did you do?
We got Nugenix Total T. To get your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, text MAIL to 321-321. This unique man-boosting formula is powered by Tesnor, a key ingredient clinically researched to help increase testosterone levels.
That does it. I gotta get Nugenix.
Just send a text for a complimentary bottle.
And by the way, she'll like it too.
Get your complimentary bottle of Nugenix now. Text MAIL to 321-321. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you lose fat and get lean absolutely free. That's MALE to 321-321.
Health and Human Services Secretary Bobby Kennedy Jr. shaking up the CDC Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, accusing the members of this board of taking big kickbacks from Big Pharma. You don't say, Bobby. We knew it was happening. RFK fired. You're fired. He pulled a page from The Apprentice. All 17 members of this controversial committee yesterday citing conflict of interest and describing this committee as nothing more than a rubber stamp for Big Pharma. Yeah, let's get that shot little record thing for our kids down to one page instead of the big catalog it is. This latest move is in line with his broader agenda to overhaul our public health institutions and increase transparency and accountability when it comes to our vaccines. Thank you, Bobby. This, as a recent study conducted by Yale, uncovers the truth when it comes to the long-term effects of the COVID-19 vaccine. You don't say. The research primarily focused on individuals experiencing post-vaccination syndrome, or PVS. Some of the vax-injured were still producing spike protein 709 days after vaccination. This resulted in issues with their immune system, reduction of cells. Yeah. Affected individuals also experienced high levels of inflammation, a sign that their immune system is overreacting to the vaccine because it's not a vaccine. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden is an outspoken advocate for medical freedom and was an early critic of the COVID jab. When she spoke out on social media, the first hospital in the country to implement mandates, was Houston Methodist, suspended her privileges and reported her to the Texas Medical Board. Here's what she had to say recently about the vax on the Joe Rogan Experience.
I started an organization called Americans for Health Freedom to try to find the politicians with moral courage to simply state that the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. And it has been slow going, but we are up to 252 politicians who will go on record just to state that these shots should be pulled off the market. But it's a problem. I mean, you know, these politicians are not getting these shots anymore, and they're not giving them to their kids. And yet they're fine just staying quiet and not saying anything. They're fine letting their constituents get these shots when we know all the complications. We know that it doesn't work. We know that the risk far outweighs.
I'm telling you, he was born for this. He loves it. You see him, he's in one country, another country. I think he loves it. But he's so respected everywhere he goes. And I know how tough he is because I used to have to be up there with him. He was not nice. He was a tough one. He was as good as you get. I didn't know that we would end up being this close. We like each other. I think I can speak for him. I can speak for myself, but I like him, and he's done a fantastic job, and he's really, really working. And we're getting relationships that we lost that were very important for us in many ways. And so I want to thank Marco, and Marco's on the board, Attorney General Pam Bondi, who I've known so long, and she's married to the best-looking guy in the room, I must admit. But she is the man. She has been amazing. She's so respected, and she's really delving into some tough territory. She sees what's happened and what's going to happen, and she knows before anybody else. She's just a fantastic person. She's got a great staff that's surrounding her, and I think she's just a star, but I've known that for a long time. I'm not surprised at all. So thank you very much, Pam, for the job you do. And by the way, she was the Attorney General of Florida, so she had plenty for a long time and never had a problem. There wasn't I can't remember a problem, and she kept everybody safe, and they felt very secure. Now she's doing it on an even bigger. Who would have thought it would have been a much bigger level, right? But she gets it. Secretary Howard Lutnick is here with his wife Allison, and he's great. He went with us to that incredible 4-day little journey that we had, and we saw some things that were incredible. But everybody respects him. Did a great job in business. He built a firm twice. You know, his firm was at the top of the World Trade Center when the planes hit. And he was amazing story. He was always Allison. Good job. You got him to take your boy, right? Years ago, on that horrible date, when you think of it. So Howard would always be. He was built Cantor Fitzgerald, and he built it in a very top firm. They had the top 3 floors of the World Trade Center, the building, the first building that was hit. And he was always there at 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. You know, a lot of the stock guys, they have to do that. Someday you'll explain to me why. Probably insider trading, Pam. I don't know. It's probably. But whatever the hell reason, he was there always at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And first time ever, like almost ever, his wife was after him for years to take their son to school. He was a young boy, very young, like early grades, and he would say, no, I can't. This was years after like 2 or 3 years of being harassed by Allison, who's very tough. A great wife, beautiful wife, but she's very, very tough. And finally, he did it. He took his boy on that day, and he dropped the boy off at 8:30 and started driving down the West Side Highway. And he would have been in that building, and every single person died in your firm. He had lost everybody. And with the exception of a few people in Europe and maybe a couple of other places, small, because they were all very New York-centric. And every single one of them died, including your brother. And what he did was incredible, actually. He rebuilt the firm. And he gave a percentage of it for years to the people, the families of the people that died. And the new firm became more successful than the old firm, using the same name, Cantor Fitzgerald, and he rebuilt it step by step by step. And I mean, that's why I said I have to get this guy if I have a chance, if I ever do. And he was very happy. They were doing great. They were doing record business. But when I said, how about coming over to commerce, a little thing called commerce, and now I don't think you could ever go back into that world because it's so big. He and Scott are in charge of, along with others that are great, but they're in charge of the biggest deal ever made in history. It's the whole tariffs. We've taken in trillions of dollars, trillions. And we've been hurt very badly by other countries that did this to us for 20, 25 years. They were taking advantage of us. We never did anything. But now we're doing it to them and fairly, I'll tell you what, modestly. But we'll be taking, and we are taking in right now, 25% on cars, 25% on steel and aluminum, 25% on other things, and that'll be going up to 50, 75, maybe 100 in some cases. We have to get our pharmaceutical industry back. Once we establish that in another couple of weeks, it'll start roaring back. It's already roaring back because they know we're doing it. And it's really been, you've done a great job. But he said to me the other day, this is so big. These numbers are big. Cantor Fitzgerald doesn't look so big anymore. We see numbers, we talk in the trillions now. Think of it, $5.1 trillion. Nobody talks, but we're talking big numbers, and he's doing a great job. He did a great job before. Chief of Staff, Susie Welch, she's considered the most powerful woman anywhere in the world. She is. She's the most powerful woman in the world. A lot of people are saying that, but she had a couple of articles, and I said, you know, it's actually true. She can wipe out a country with just a mere phone call. Think of it. That's the end of the country. But she's great. She's been, I mean, I knew because we won Florida 3 times and won it Florida didn't used to be a red state. It was a blue state. When I first ran, that was a blue state. And now it's a seriously red state. And it got more and more. And we're going to keep it that way. But Susie ran it. And we won by a landslide. And a Republican hadn't won. You had a Democrat senator. You had 2 Democrat senators. But you had a Democrat governor. You had a lot of Democrats. And so we won in a landslide. I said, good. Then the next time I won again in a much bigger landslide, and anybody I endorsed also won. And I said, that's good. And then when it came time to do this, after the election was rigged, the second one was rigged, whether you like it or not, it was rigged like nobody's ever seen, and now people are seeing it. Now people don't even fight me. They used to say, sure, it's not really that nice to say. I'm an honest, it was rigged, and unfortunately that's what happened. You look at some of the things that happened, all of these things would have never happened. But when it came time to thinking about doing it again, I didn't think I'd have to do that. I said, I think I'm going to take that woman, my friend now, but at the time I didn't know. Her father was Pat Summerall, who was a great football player, was probably a greater announcer for 28 years for the NFL. But that tells me, because I'm a big believer in the genes, person's genes. And Susie was, I said, let's use Susie. She did a great job in Florida for me twice. We beat every Democrat by numbers that they never saw before. I said, let's use, and she took over and she did great. Chris was fantastic, but she had a group of people that she brought with her. And there was no looking back. We started off leading by a lot, and it only got bigger and bigger and bigger. We had a couple of challenges that didn't work out too well. Worked out well for us. But Susie was fantastic, and now she's the chief of staff of the president, and she really makes it work. And she's the first woman. This is shocking to me because, I thought we were beyond that. First woman chief of staff in the history of the country, right? And she's doing a great job, and those men are scared. She sits in the back of the room. She watches them like this. She doesn't want publicity. She doesn't want to be on camera. She doesn't want stories. But they're up there yapping, 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 and if they start yapping the wrong way, it's not pleasant for them. She's great. And we have a friend of mine, a man that I endorsed, and he proudly went through the roof, Jeff Landry, governor of Louisiana. Did my endorsement mean much? When I endorsed you, he became a rocket ship, right? We avoided, did I say it?
We won in the first round.
Yeah, it was good. We didn't want to run. We didn't want to go a second round. He went up and won everything, and he's a great governor, great attorney general, great governor. So it's great to have you. And we have so many people here that we're not going to do that, but we may play around in a little while because we're going to have some fun tonight, and we'll talk about this, but we'll talk about other things. But we might talk about some of the questions you may have. We're looking to get the one great, big, beautiful bill. It'll be the greatest tax cuts in history. If we don't get it, that means the Democrats will have stopped us, and that means people will get a 68% tax increase, the largest in history. And if we do get it, we're going to have the largest tax decrease in history. And all my life, I've watched politicians screaming, we will cut your taxes. This is the only group where they say, we're going to raise your taxes, and they think they're going to win. There's something wrong with them. I don't know what the hell is going on. We're going to raise your taxes. And people say, that's strange. I've never heard it before. When we took over in recent months, the Kennedy Center was in dire shape. As I saw on my tour a few weeks ago, the building is falling apart. I don't want to scare people. It's in fine shape, but it's falling apart. That means, we have to see, we have Les Mis. We're opening up with Les Mis and some other things. We have Mrs. Fisher here, and she said, you know what works? Anything Broadway. So we're signing Phantom of the Opera. We're signing a lot of great Broadway, and we'll have them run for a while. And I think we're going to do very well. But it's been neglected very badly, and it needs an infusion of different things, including probably funds. But I think we're going to do very well when we get some money from Congress to fix it, because it's so important. The previous leadership wasted millions and millions of dollars and handed us a budget deficit of $26 million. Can you believe that? In addition, the programming was out of control with rampant political propaganda, DEI, and inappropriate shows. We had some very inappropriate shows, to put it very nicely. They had dance parties for, quote, queer and trans youth. And I guess that's all right for certain people, quote, and I'm just quoting, I'm not saying it, queer and trans youth. That wasn't working out too well. They had a Marxist anti-police performance, and they had lesbian-only Shakespeare, which is different. Who thinks of these ideas, really? It's different. It's different. Oh, we're bringing our country back so fast. The military is so much better. Everything is just gone. They had people who were paying them $400,000 or $500,000 a year to teach DEI. Just 12 weeks, our new board has balanced the budget. Think of that in 2026 budget. That's a pretty good job you've done. So that's amazing. So the 2026, I told you it was 25 million under. It's balanced now for the fiscal year. Eliminated DEI initiatives in all cases. Brought back family-friendly programming that will attract large audiences once again, and launched a plan to renovate the building and reclaim the grandeur as a landmark, really a Washington landmark, which it always was. The Kennedy Center will also play an important role in our national celebration to commemorate the 250th anniversary of America's founding. So we have three really big. We have that. We have the 250th anniversary of America's founding. That's a big deal. And we have the Olympics, and we have the World Cup. And, you know, maybe I got lucky because I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. I did nothing to help the 250th anniversary, because if I take credit for that one, then you'll say, I think he's exaggerating. But two of the three, I absolutely, I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup. And I said to myself when I got them, it was my first term I got them, President Obama would not take the calls from the Olympic Committee, refused to take the calls. And I think because he traveled to Oslo or wherever he went, and very far away, in order to get the Olympics, previous Olympics. And I said, well, that's great. That means we got it, because what president would travel to come in fourth place, which is what we came in, fourth place. And so he was so angry he wouldn't take the call. So I got a call from, at the time, the mayor of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not looking too good with what the water. We just sent so much water down their way, they didn't want to take it because it was bad for the environment. I said, no, water's good for the environment. They would have had it when I told them to get it. They wouldn't have had the fires, or it would have been very small. But we took so much, and we were looking at the Olympics. We were looking at other things, and Obama went there, and all that travel, all that everything. And think, who would go there unless you know the answer? You have to know the answer. You can't be embarrassed as president. No president's ever done that. And I give him credit. He went, but he should have known the answer. Let's go deal making. And he didn't. And they put him at fourth. And he was so angry that it hurt his whole thing. He didn't want to talk to anybody. So I got a call from the mayor, and he said, sir, you're the president-elect. I was president-elect at the time. The president will not speak to the Olympic Committee. And I understand that, but a little bit his fault, I guess. He was very embarrassed by that. And I said, I'll speak to him. And I spoke to this gentleman who was obviously Scandinavian, seriously Scandinavian, and very nice. I couldn't get him off the phone because he was so starved for love. He just kept, I must have had him for 2 hours. I couldn't. I said, sir, I have to go. I'm president-elect. Yes. All I said to him, yes, 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 we will take good care. They wanted to know that if they choose us for the Olympics, will we treat them nicely? And I said, we're going to treat you like so well, like you've never been treated. And then he wanted to talk about anything because nobody would talk to him. Now he talks to me. And we got the Olympics, and then we got through Johnny, who's the boss. He's a friend of mine. We got the World Cup. I got them both. And I said, man, I won't be president. I got the Olympics and the World Cup, and I won't be president. And they're going to forget that I got them. Nobody's going to mention it because, a little bit, that's the way life is. And then they rigged the election. And then I said, you know what I'll do? I'll run again and I'll shove it up their ass. And that's what I did. And all of a sudden, I then realized, I said, you know what? I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I got the 250th. Look at the way this works out. So if they would have left us alone and wouldn't have cheated on the election and wouldn't have rigged it, I would have been retired right now. I would have been happily doing something else. And instead, they have me for 4 more years. Can you believe it? Yeah. So it has been. So instead of putting forward programming that tears our country down and tears our country apart, the Kennedy Center should be the nation's premier venue for lifting up the best of our country and lifting up the American arts, theater, music, and culture. And together, it's really an honor to be like. I mean, I have so many friends on the board. This is a hot board, just like we have a hot country. You know, we have a hot country. Our country was stone cold 8 months ago. It all began on November 5th. Does anybody know that that was election day? And from that moment on, and then January 20th came, and what we've done, we have almost no inflation. Our energy prices are way down. Our gasoline costs are way down. Groceries are way down. Eggs. Remember, they hit me with eggs my first week. Sir, the fake news, those people right there, they're saying, sir, eggs have gone through the roof. They were doubling and tripling eggs. I said, I don't know what I've just got here, excuse me. And through she's done a great job, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture. Anyway, the prices came down. They didn't want us to, we had the egg roll here a couple of weeks ago for Easter. They didn't want us to order eggs. They wanted the eggs to be made out of plastic. They wanted plastic. I said, I'm not going to do that. But by the time it came around, the egg prices are way down. The groceries are way down. Everything is way down. We are just doing great. I mean, think of it. No inflation, and we're taking in billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, which we never did before. We got a hot country right now. We have a country that people are proud to be a part of. So we're going to honor the legacy of President Kennedy, his great legacy, and we'll create the best and most beautiful home for the performing arts anywhere in the country and many other things also. I want to thank you again. We're going to have some fun working together. We're going to make this a fun project. That's what I thought. Until I walked into the building, I said, this won't be the fun that I thought, but it is fun. I like to create. You like to create. Most of the people in the room like to create, just like Bob Kraft created the New England Patriots. He happens to be here. And he tells me he has a great new quarterback, so we're going to see. You know, a lot of people make that statement. We're going to find out, but I have a feeling you're going to be right. You've been right about a lot of things, but he was right about Tom Brady, right? He got him almost the last draft choice in the last round, 6th round, whatever it was. How did he work out, Tom Brady? Okay? Not bad? Good, right? But Bob's here, and his wife, as you know, Dana, she's on the board. And she's much younger than him, so he wanted to come tonight with her. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice when you have a husband that will travel with you to the board, and he's a big shot, too? And he's a great guy. He's been my friend for a long time. So I'd like to ask, if I might, Secretary Rubio, and followed by, we're going to ask Sergio to say a couple of words, and then Rick Grinnell, and we'll have a little fun tonight. And you know what they can do? If they can, relatively quietly, they can start serving the meal. So by the time we're all finished, we get the hell out of here, we go home, and we have our board all formed, and we can start doing that quietly. And so, Marco, please come up and say a few words. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. It's an unusual day. You know, it's not often you wake up in the morning and your first meeting is with the Pope and your last meeting is a dinner with the President of the United States. That's a heck of a day. And but it actually is an honor to be a part of this administration, Mr. President. It's actually a very unique situation. I don't know how many of you got to see the President's speech in Saudi Arabia. I think it will go down as one of the most profound foreign policy speeches in American history. And where it outlined a vision for the future and a vision of prosperity. And I tell people, we have a president of peace. In fact, I'll tell you kind of an aside, one of the cardinals I was meeting with, Mr. President, the day before the papal mass said to me, you know, it's very unusual for us it's you know, we have an American president that wants peace, and it's some of the Europeans that are constantly talking about doing war stuff. So it's kind of the world's upside down in their mind right now. It's usually the other way around. And it's a great honor to work for a president who literally spends half his day, maybe more, trying to stop wars, end wars, prevent wars. And it's an extraordinary thing to be a part of, and thank you for your leadership on that front. He's a key part of the speech he gave, and I just summarized it this way: our president is a builder, not a bomber. He wants to make things, he wants to build things, he wants people to have prosperity and to be happy, and frankly, he knows we have to have national defense because, of course, that's the world we live in. But I think one of the things that troubles him deeply is how much money has to be spent on some of this military and war, because it's just the way the nature of the world is. He'd much rather be spending growing the economy and doing the deals that we've seen, and he's trying to convince other countries of that as well. It's an honor to be a part of this tonight for a few moments because you have an opportunity here. You know, the Kennedy Center is a showcase of American excellence in arts and culture, and that's what it needs to be again. And the work that Rick and his team are doing, both to bring the building and the actual function of the organization to reflect that, but the programming is the other thing. We're really excited to see the programming, the shows that are coming, that will be a highlight of American excellence and of American culture and American entertainment. And just so you know the influence that American culture has around the world in a positive way, a few months ago, the President hosted the Prime Minister of Italy down in Florida, and her English is excellent, very good English. And I asked her, why is your English so good? How it was really good. You know what she said? You know where she learned English? Michael Jackson. Not from him, not like personally, he wasn't doing the lessons, from his music. But what it tells you is the impact that American culture has on the world in such a positive way, and it can have such an influence. And the Kennedy Center is a showcase for it. So we're excited to see what you're leading here, and all of you contributing towards that. And we're excited to see also the restoration of that building. That really should be a showcase and something that we're proud of. That when people come to Washington, when people come to America, they want to see the shows that reflect the greatness of our culture and society, and in a building run by an organization that is reflective of excellence as well. So it's an honor to be here tonight. I want to thank all of you for contributing to this, because it's important that this board and everyone that's involved in it, and Rick and his team, are doing a great job of making sure that your dollars and everything you've made possible will be well spent, so we'll have a treasure in our hands for future generations. I think, Sergio, you want to come up here now and tell us about Sergio Gore personnel.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here with all of you. We're here to honor the spirit that makes America exceptional. Under President Trump's leadership, we're witnessing the revitalization of American culture, a return to the values that fuel our greatness. I can't think of a better chairman of the Kennedy Center than President Trump. And a lot of you know his incredible record when it comes to dealing with these individuals who become American icons. So from Michael Jackson to hosting Pavarotti many times, to Andrea Bocelli, to incredible individuals that have changed the landscape.
This house for $19.
I want to get to one more thing, just because I think you're one of the funniest people in Congress, and you had a moment today with Pritzker, and it was out of left field, but it was fun.
Energized Health. Transform your health from the inside.
Do you think that biological men should be able to use women's restrooms?
I'm not sure how this has to do with immigration.
It's just a yes or no question. You
Issue has
tweeted
nothing
that
to do
as
with
a
immigration.
protest against President Trump, everyone should use the other gender's bathroom today. Have you ever used the women's restroom?
Mr. Trumptastic.